Good morning, good evening, good night, good whatever, good day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming into the whatever the show is. I've already screwed up. Oh, damn it. This is what happens when you do four things at once in an intro, especially for the podcast. Welcome everybody to the Airlock Podcast, episode number 13. I almost forgot the episode number. Where today we actually have one of our command staff joining us today. And yep, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. The moment where I say, would it be a Legion stream without some technical difficulties? Because there goes the music. Let's just refresh that, and that should work. There it goes. Yeah, there it goes. A little ambiance in the background. Yeah. So, few things they need to talk about. First up, Imperial Storm 4 has come and gone. And congratulations to those on the ISD2 Warrior. Hard fought battle, war sims, war games, whatever you want to call it. A hard fought competition between all three ships, but congratulations to the Warrior for their victory. Well earned indeed. Though I will say that for those of you who kept saying that our tequila distilleries have been blown up, let me be the first to inform you, you are sorely mistaken to think we only have one. Yeah. Anyway, lots of things have occurred since the last podcast. I want to also apologize right now for the lack of some episodes that are no longer on the VODs on this Twitch channel, and that are still not on the YouTube channel. This is being addressed, actually even addressed as we speak. Okay, so remember a while back when I said that we needed an editor? Yeah, let's add an S to that word. We need editors at this point because we are now 10 plus episodes behind, needing to get on the YouTube channel. And some of those videos, some of those past recordings are now being auto-deleted by Twitch because, of course, all the streams that don't stay on there forever. Not like they used to in the past. Twitch will fix that. But yeah, I do have the videos. Don't be afraid. Don't think that those episodes are now gone to the void. Absolutely not. We have them. I have them, and I'm going to make sure that command staff has access to them to make sure that they don't get lost in the void, and we'll get them to the YouTube channel as soon as we can get some editors to help us with the ginormous backlog that we have. So, also, on further news, real quick shout out to Calv for providing what is an amazing artwork for the Airlock Podcast. It's not going to be used in this episode because he literally just sent it to me, 5 minutes ago. So, yeah, I will get those the new stuff out for the next episode. Promise, Calv. Thank you again so much. This is amazing work. I wish I could show you right now, but I don't have a live screen that I can show it. But yeah, today, let's now go back to where we were originally here to talk with one of our command staffs, one of our fun favorite Seagram's loving admirals. And everybody, please welcome. Oh, hang on. And oh wow, we're racking up technical difficulties. Why is my unmute button not working? There it goes. Finally. All right. Everybody, welcome Sector Admiral Kamjin, Maverick, and you're gonna have to forgive me if I mispronounce his last name. Lapmiz? Did I say that right? Lamis. And why is okay? Now the screen is switching. Of course. Welcome to the show, sir. How are you doing today?
It's a beautiful evening. Glad to be here, Legion.
Yes, and I want to take a quick moment to point out something I forgot to say to you before the podcast. Saw the artwork, obviously, that Newt made. Two things. One, wasn't expecting the non-helmeted version of you. I was like, there's an actual face. Oh, this is amazing. This looks amazing. And then I realized, why is he holding a ketchup bottle? No, that's not ketchup. That's Seagram's.
It is a Seagram. Newt sent me a preview of it, and I was in the original draft was holding a whiskey tumbler. I was like, you know what would make this just a little bit cooler? Add a Seagram's bottle.
Yeah, I'm loving it. I'm actually loving it. But of course, I love all of Newt's work. So, but I was like, this just makes it perfect with the Seagrams and all that.
I almost cracked open a Seagram's. I was like, it's a work night, and I do have business with Rapier and Pliff after this conversation. So I was like, probably best not to start early.
Gotcha. Well, I'm sure the viewers are gonna want to know what exactly, but I obviously know that's not to be discussed right here. Maybe next time.
Well, who knows? If you stay and listen the whole night, maybe you'll get a teaser or two out of it.
Oh, okay, good to know. More secrets. So yeah, I've said this in the show before. To those watching live, again, I do have the chat window up, but if I do not specifically point out something said in chat, I apologize. Like I said, 2 screens, 14 windows. I can only do so much as a human. So, I'm trying my best, so if I don't say something in chat that happened live, I apologize. We will try our best. But for right now, let's just focus on the questions I sent you. Let's start off with how you joined the Emperor's Hammer Tie Corps.
Oh gosh, that's an old question. I'm going to transport you all back to an era of America Online. At its greatest.
Oh god.
So I was 12, and my dad had decided in 1995 to get a new computer. We had a Tandy 1000. He said it's time to be online. I was like, okay. And my cousin had the disc versions of the X-Wing games.
Oh my
and I was like, hey, that's really cool. So we're picking out the computer. You know, of course, we were at like Comp USA. Again, guys, these are stores that existed 30 years ago. They don't exist.
I was gonna say, does a Comp USA even exist anymore?
No. No, they're all gone.
Yeah, I was gonna say, along with Radio Shack and Blockbuster, they are now things of the past, I'm afraid.
Yep. Radio Shack being where we got our first computer back in '88.
Oh god! Oh, the year of my birth. Oh boy.
Oh, good lord.
Yeah.
So as we're like going up and down the aisles, because I'm of course wasting time, my dad was like, "Hey, we're getting this new computer. Is there a game you want?" And of course, glowing like right above my 12-year-old like reach was a copy of TIE Fighter. And I was like, "Dad, I want that."
Yeah.
He's like, "You want to be the bad guys?" And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
And that purple box with the emblazoned TIE Fighter on it. I was like, yeah, I want that game. So what became a major purchase, then it was like, well, I need a joystick, Dad. And like, I need to be able to do this right. So I started playing. It was, ironically enough, it was around this time. It was Mother's Day. Mother's Day happens to be the date of my parents' anniversary. So it was a big gift for my mom. And then I snuck my way into it. So I played TIE Fighter, and I was like, this is awesome. And of course, I finished the game, as one is prone to do. And in 95, I was going, is there something more? So I started searching for TIE Corps, or TIE Fighter, something along those lines. And I found custom missions that were part of the TIE Corps. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is awesome. How do I join? And then what started was some poor, I forget who it was. I think it was think he went by the name Scavenger. It's none of the scavengers you're probably referring to. He was court-martialed back in the mid-90s.
Oh my God.
For some who-knows infraction.
Another court-martial in the past I'm hearing. I've been hanging out with a lot of command staff. I'm hearing a bunch of stories of those that have been court-martialed or exiled from the TC. I actually had a question originally about another member that I heard from Miles, but I was like, you know what? Probably don't want to ask those questions during the podcast. So, but
we can come to it. So ultimately, I join in Delta Squadron. So for those of you in Delta Squad, that was my original home. I had a very original name. I was known as Mark Hamill.
I would say so Luke Skywalker joined what the was it still a squadron of assassins back then like it is now, or
it was recon. At the time,
okay.
It was recon, deep space recon.
Gotcha.
And it was enough that Ronan reached out to me and was like, "Are you the Mark Hamill?" And I was like, "No, I'm a 12-year-old kid." I just didn't have any creativity when I was making a screen name. So I was Mark Hamill for a few months until, as the internet is prone to do, and if you're not familiar with this, guys, spoilers, there are a lot of pervy people on the internet. And when they thought that they were talking to Mark Hamill, I got some pretty explicit content sent my way. And my mom was like, "What the heck is that?" I'm like, "I don't know who it is, Mom. Just said it." She's like, "You gotta get a new screen name."
Yep, and it's like at this point you've learned one of the oldest rules of the internet. We're not going to say that rule. Yeah, it was that early on that it was made.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Don't think it's a late thing. No, it's been there since I think the creation of the internet.
It definitely has. So I'll kind of fast forward there through a few years. So I was a flight member in Delta Squadron. My commander gets court-martialed. Something, he's gone. I became commander, and here I was, 12, a commander of a squadron. I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm in over my head.
Seems to be the common theme for new commanders. I myself can say the exact same thing, and I wasn't even 12.
Yeah, so I resigned to Ronan. I was like, "Ronan, I'm out." But they kept the hook that kept me engaged was the custom missions. I was like, "Gosh, there's a new battle. There's something I'll do." I was like, I stayed connected, and back in the age of MIRC, I was still talking to people in AOL chat rooms. And I found my way over to the infiltrator wing. Did that.
Ooh.
So I was in Green Squadron. Wait, no. I don't remember my first squadron.
Which color was it?
It wasn't colors. I think it may have been Aries, but I don't think that's right.
I'm sure somebody in the chat will help.
But then the Fear opened up, and a commander position opened up there. And at this point, I was a little bit older, a little bit wiser, and I went for that.
Mm-hmm.
So, for me to keep going on that tangent, we'd be here all night. But Delta Squadron was where I got started. I actually spent the majority of my EH career in the Infiltrator Wing and the Dark Brotherhood. And then throughout the ages, kind of touched on everything. You know, I'll touch briefly the roles that really stood out to me that I really enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
Always enjoyed being Commodore of the Challenge. I did that when I was in college. Would have stayed in the role if not for the fact that I graduated, got a real job, had no internet because I had no money for almost a month.
Yeah.
I was like, guys, I'm trying to get my feet wet between a brand new adult job and this girl I met who's now my wife. I was like, I need to focus here. But I love that job. I love being on the High Court of Inquisitors, which may seem weird. Like, why would you want to be the boogeyman in the middle of the night? But I love that role.
I would say I don't mind that at all. Why do you think I wear a mask?
You know, that if that still existed, I was ready to retire into that role. I thought my career would be done as a fleet admiral on the court. Um, Loved being reconnaissance officer. It was great being able to, and this is of course at the infancy of social media, but being able to go out and like make connections, talk to new people. And then obviously as the executive officer, a lot of learning, and I've spoken about this in the past in several other places, but a lot of learning in that role. A role that came to me probably 10 years earlier than it should have. And that's really influenced what I do now as the sovereign protector of listen a lot more and give direction a lot less. No questions over that, Legion?
Hang on, I started to have some issue here on my end. I think my headphones are starting to die on me. I'm sure it doesn't sound weird at all. Give me a second. I'm sorry, can you say that last part again? Because yeah, I think I fixed
So questions over that very brief career before I go.
So I think you've pretty much been what is it? A jack of all trades. So many positions.
Let's see. I'll try and name all the subgroups quickly. TIE Corps, Infiltrator Wing, Dark Jedi Brotherhood, Intelligence Division, Corporate Division, Bounty Hunters Guild, Smugglers Guild. That takes you back because Smugglers Guild's only existed for a little while.
Right.
The Fringe. The Senate.
I'm guessing that's the Directorate?
The Fringe became the Directorate.
The Fringe, okay.
And then I think that's all of it.
Okay. So when you say the Dark Jedi Brotherhood, is that what's the Dark Brotherhood today? Or is there are those two different ones or the exact same one?
No. So the Dark Brotherhood or Dark Jedi Brotherhood, this kind of a bone of contention in terms of naming is because both were used interchangeably at the beginning. Some of the graphics said Dark Jedi Brotherhood, some just said Dark Brotherhood, and it became one of those, why do you say Jedi?
Okay.
But you have to keep in mind, in the time that lore was being created, the mythology of the Sith didn't really exist. A lot of what became the Sith as we know it got fleshed out in The Phantom Menace, and then the books and graphic novels that followed The Phantom Menace, where, as Master Yoda, famously says, only two there, always two there are, a master and an apprentice.
Yep.
And everyone was like, "What are you talking about?" It's like that doesn't jive with all the other stuff, because you look at the Timothy Zahn books, you're like, here's Dark Jedi Master Joris Koboth and all these other things. So there was this long-standing debate that started then saying like, well, why do we say Jedi? Why do we don't? So I'm horrible. I interchange them all the time. But whenever I'm referring to the Dark Brotherhood here, I'm referring to the core Dark Brotherhood pre-Exodus that occurred in 2003.
Oh, I was gonna say 7, but I guess I'm off on
2007, maybe. No, it could have been.
I remember hearing something about the Exodus, and I thought it was around 2007 because in my mind I'm like, oh, so the time I graduated is when apparently the Exodus happened, but I could be wrong as well. I don't remember. 02 to 03 is what Marenta is saying. 07 to 08 was Astatine, which was actually one of the ones that Miles was talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have a fairly vivid memory of it happening while I was in college. And I was in college between 2001 and 2005.
Okay. So
because 2008, 2009 was around whenever I became XO. So there had to have been a good gap of time between those two events.
Okay, so it was Then I guess it's around not when I was in high school, but actually when I was in middle school. Gotcha.
Yeah, there was a lot happening while you were learning the your
ABCs.
algebra.
Yeah, yeah. Solve for x. Why is x in math in the first place?
Easy.
Yeah.
To mark the spot where you're gonna get the wrong answer.
Yeah, exactly. It's the x is what they would put on my test when I failed it. I'm kidding. I actually did really well. All right. So, So there's the max exodus of the Dark Brotherhood. But you've seen everything then at this point, almost everything, or no, everything at this point.
Yeah. So where I kind of fade out is after I was executive officer. Executive officer. I was again, like I was saying, came about 10 years too early. I was executive officer. At the time, I was engaged to my wife. So wedding planning, trying to, every free moment I had was, making sure I had things ready for the wedding.
Yeah.
I needed to bow out. But that was also at the time where Star Wars Galaxies and eventually the Old Republic were going on. And at that point, that's where I was spending most of my time. I wasn't sitting in IRC. I was sitting in Galaxies, because who wouldn't, or at least to me, I would much rather prefer being like, hey, I'm going to go swing a lightsaber online and chat with people. That was where I spent my time.
That's also if you made it enough to get to be a Jedi. I remember at one point in that game, it was almost near impossible to get to that point.
Yeah, and I did not do it until the combat upgrade.
Yeah.
Mainly because I could have, and my wife to this day still mocks me because I never got a full suit of Mandalorian armor in that game.
Oh.
I could have been Jedi in the old system, or at least the village system.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to put in the effort.
Yeah.
So for me, it was I did the holocron grind. I had enough holocrons, and it said you need a master creature handler, and I got to if you remember the old system, you had like 4 boxes. There were 4 boxes and 4 columns. So I was like 4, 3, 2 or something like that, and I was like, I just don't like playing this. It's like I want to be handler. It's like I'm tired of trying to get my sludge panther to go and attack things on Talos. I was like, it's like enough. I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna play the game I want to play. I'm gonna go back to being a bounty hunter. Yes. Then the village came out. I was like, oh, this is great. Like I can be who I want to be, and then I can eventually unlock it. And then I learned ratios for the second time in my life. Like a 30-to-1 ratio.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, it's just all I'm gonna do is sit on Kashyyyk and kill spiders.
Over and over and over again.
So I was like, I don't want to do this. I'm gonna go play the game the way I want to play it. And then the combat upgrade came out. I was like, fine, I'm gonna go be a Jedi. And then I was like, this is not that great.
Yeah, it wasn't even that good because then you'd have, if it wasn't for the fact that like grinding so long to get to be a Jedi, and then when you finally get it, everybody's out to kill you because you're a Jedi.
And it really didn't, like, there wasn't like enough mythos around it. It was like, hey, you have a range attack, you have force lightning. It's like, I see a lot of Jedi with force lightnings. That sucks.
That's not supposed to be, but
Yeah. So it was clear I'm going on this tangent because we're on Twitch. But it was clear that as the developers worked on that game and what they were hearing from the fan base, a open sandbox game set true to the spirit of Star Wars at that time, where there were not supposed to be a ton of Jedi, was not what the fans wanted.
Mm-hmm.
The fans wanted Jedi, Dark Forces 2 Jedi Knight. They wanted Jedi Academy and Jedi Outcast. They wanted to sling their glow sticks, which is why when the Old Republic came out, it was like, okay, you've made us smart. You can be a Jedi. You can be a Sith. You can do it right out of the gate. You thinking you'll be locked into certain abilities. It's like that felt more real.
Yeah. It also was based off game mechanics that, made sense.
Absolutely. So for those 10 years between when I was executive officer and when I came back as ISP, that's really where I was. And it was only the last few years where I had pretty much retired. I was, I have 4 kids. Eldest is 9, youngest is a little over a year. I was busy. I was busy with life, loving it. And as a trustee member, once a year, all of us old farts would get on a conference call. We'd talk business, make sure that the club was, sound, was operating. We had the website, we had bills paid, all that stuff. And to shoot the shit for a year, they're like, okay, see you guys later. And then 2020 happened, and I don't know if you guys have seen this in a galaxy far away,
Yeah.
but 2020 turned the world upside down.
Yeah.
So there were kind of 2 key things happening for me in 2020 between, hey, there's a pandemic, and for me, I was running it for my company. So I was coordinating all of our events, getting our C-suite and executives together. So at the beginning, I was legit, would wake up, sit in my office at home, be on a webcam all day into the evening, read up about the latest thing on COVID, and then go to sleep and do it again.
Yep. Here's the latest COVID statistics. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah. Trust me, I looked at all those graphs.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that was happening was my wife was pregnant with our youngest son.
Oh, boy.
And he's fine. My wife is fine, but it was a complicated pregnancy.
Oh.
So she ended up being put on bed rest at the hospital.
Okay.
So I would work all day. This is literally how my days got to be. I would wake up, take the 2 oldest kids to school, have my parents come, or my wife's mom come and watch our third boy, or our middle boy.
Mm-hmm.
I'd drive to the hospital. I'll work from my wife's hospital room. And then I would come home late, make sure. And I was like, I need social engagement. I need a life, because no one was doing anything. No one was interacting in person. All the school clubs and events that I was a part of weren't doing anything.
Yep, and that was one of the major issues during it. It's like, humans aren't meant to be, what's the word I'm looking for here? Socially outcast from everybody?
I would use the term caged.
Caged, yeah.
We were caged in our homes.
Yeah.
So I'm legit, stuck in my office, or stuck at the hospital. And I was like, I forget what it was. I forget if it was a post on Facebook. If it was, Miles, I'm going to shout out to you. Great job putting that out there. But somehow, it was, hey, the EH is on Discord. And I was like, well, what the hell is Discord?
So first off, what is this other news social experiment that you speak of?
I'm like, okay, this is new. But I was like, I'll give it a try. I'll spun it up. And it was like, all of a sudden, I talked to Rapier. I was talking to Rapier, like, hey, do you know what this thing is? Like, send him a text. He's like, yes, we're on it. Where are you?
It's like, yeah, dude, we've been on here. Where have you been? It's like, I'm sorry.
So I was like, oh, the community is thriving. Would be great to kind of see what the community is doing. But also, I reached out to Rapier and said, look, here's my situation. I need something to keep me preoccupied. And I legit said it in this way. It's like, is there any sort of fluff position? Doesn't have any responsibilities. I'm not looking to like be a commander or a leader again. It's just something that gives me access to the database again. So I can take iWatch courses, and I want to try my hand at making a mission, which I know I have all the beta feedback. I need to actually finish it. But that was it. I was like, hey, I want a reason to like be able to hang out in the channels again, and be able to play around in the old sandbox. And Rapier's like, how about the Imperial Sovereign Protector? I was like, sure. I looked it up on the command staff board. I was like, all right, I'm scrolling. All right, I'm under Ronin. Got it. I exist. I was like, sure, why not? And kind of two things happened. One, I am an insufferable engager. I like to talk. I like to mix things up. I see things going on, and I'm like, I just can't help myself. Hey, I've got an opinion. Do you mind if I offer that opinion?
Oh.
It's like, hey, that's a really great idea. Have you thought about this? And they go, oh, I haven't. That's great. Yeah, let me try that. And then people start looking and going, oh, Sector Admiral, Trustee, Advisor. Hey, can I run something by you? I was like, well, yeah, I mean, it's in the job description. I wasn't planning on doing anything, but yeah, sure, ask me a question. And then, one thing leads to another. I'm like, okay, let me network. Hey, Pliff, got this question. Or, hey, Dempsey, got this, this came up. What are your thoughts? And that slowly led to me being like, hey, Rapier, I think there's an opportunity here for the group commanders to get together and talk, share ideas, get your feedback. So I've been running that since 2021. Once a month, Rapier, Pliff, Mont, whenever Mont was still in his previous role. We'd get together and it's what's on the agenda. What are the key topics? Rapier, what are you looking for? What are you hearing? Pliff, Mont, what's going on? What do you need Rapier's opinion on? And really helping to listen to what's going on, what's the needs, where are the topics du jour, and then helping to guide. Say, well, what about this? Here's where I see the risk, or here is where I see an opportunity. Have you considered going down this path? And that's really taking the spirit of the ISP role to heart. It really was at the genesis kind of a, hey, here's someone who is an elder statesman of the club who wants to still be around, but is really meant to advise, to give perspective. Now the greatest opportunity, which many people would see it as challenge, is I have no authority. I can't come in here and fire any of you. I can't come in here and promote any of you. I can't award medals. I cannot give out demerits. I am literally a wolf with no teeth. But it helps me personally and professionally because I have to influence. I have to help others in how they can be better. And that's where, if I take us back to whenever I was an executive officer, that is not at all what I did. Whenever I was the executive officer, I had my big point pants on. I had my dad voice going. It's
right.
Like, we are here. And in that era, and really, whenever I talk about that era, I'm talking about the era after X-Wing Alliance and Jedi Outcast had really been played past their prime. Everyone who was new to it, had already had their time. The people that were playing it were really the diehard fan. And there was no new flight sim. There was no new first-person shooter that was Star Wars related.
No,
it was. It was, what is the club going to do? What's going to keep the club active? You can only say you're 4 to 5 years post Indoor for so long before people say, I've spent 10 years playing someone 4 years after Indoor. It's starting to get a little confusing. So one of my biggest failures was I said, we're going to move to the Yazid Vaughn era. We're time skipping. We're going to be fighting base lizards and other crap. And no one wanted it. So we did.
Oh, so this is the reason we don't have a canon yet.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Yes. I believe someone in the chat has been waiting for a reason. Go on. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I was excited. It's like, oh, we finally get to know.
So that's why we didn't, I made that jump. Sirik and I, we talked on the phone a lot about it. We're like, you know what, everyone's up in arms against it, but we're gonna do it. And we did it, and no one followed. And like, that's not who I am. I'm not playing that. I'm not dealing with biological engineered crap.
Yeah.
And then of course Sirik and I are bashing our heads against the wall, and I'm pacing in my apartment, trying to tell my fiance, I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't call you back. I'm talking to Sirik. We got made up crap we're having to solve. We're like, why is no one doing this? Well, because we didn't listen. We just jumped and we said, here's what we're gonna do. Here's what's gonna happen. And this time, in terms of the story progression, it is an organic. And I told you guys, hey, if you stay here long enough, you may hear some cool stuff. This is what Rapier and Pliff and I have been talking about, is we don't want to jump ahead too far.
Okay.
We don't want to all of a sudden be, hey, we're with the First Order. Now Rapier, if you ever have an opportunity to talk to him, we'll tell you in detail.
I hope one day I do.
He puts this very succinctly. It's, why should we assume that the Force Order would be happy to see us? When you think about that, the First Order is fanatics. If you draw the parallel to like Nazi Germany, the Nazis were fanatics that grew out of the browncoats. The browncoats were what originally drew them to power. The browncoats is what started in the beer halls and like bringing everyone together.
Right.
And guess what the Nazis did with the browncoats? They killed them all.
Yep.
Because they weren't fanatic enough. They weren't dedicated to that iconography. So you have the First Order that is built around Snoke. And all of a sudden another Imperial faction shows up. It's, who the hell are you? Why didn't you answer any of the earlier calls? Because as you look at the current history, we technically should have shown up over Jakku and joined that fight. We didn't. Now, we have our own mission. We took our orders from Palpatine. There's Operation Cinder and all those other, kind of cool teaser things.
Mm-hmm.
Palpatine was a man with plans within plans. We were one of those plans. General Hux doesn't know jack shit about us. General Hux is not the type of person that's going to sit down with Rapier and be okay with it. Look how, Rapier carries a lightsaber. He was a former Grand Master. You saw how Hux relates to Kylo Ren. And in terms of like force power, if you like really take the movies out and you rate force powers, Rapier would be more powerful than Kylo Ren.
Oh, much.
So Hux is going to be like, yeah, I don't like you guys. I'm going to try and get rid of you. Now, Snoke may know something. Snoke may be bought in. They never really dive into that. You never really know, did Snoke know that there was a Palpatine behind the throne?
I was going to say,
or
was it he supposed to be some sort of like puppet, literally, in that aspect?
Well, he's definitely cloned. I'm basing this off of film only. We clearly know Palpatine grew him and made him, but was Snoke trained by Palpatine? Is he sitting there being like, hey, now I'm the Count Dooku face of this while you're in the shadows? Or is it, hey, I just woke up and I had a purpose, and everything with the Final Order is truly secret? So there's a lot of how will they react? And if you rush the story to have us engage with the First Order, it's going to have to be a one and done. Because if you look at the time frame that we're operating in, they're going to have Starkiller Base in about a year. So there is no, hey, here's the Emperor's Hammer doing stuff along with the First Order. It's First Order is going to go public. They're going to blow up Hassian Prime. They're going to be in war for a couple years, and then they're gone.
Okay. I was gonna say, Hijacker, I'm hoping you're taking notes down, because this is gonna answer a lot of your questions.
So what we're looking at is a couple things. One, it's, we're in the unknown region. We're on uncharted territory. There's a ton of stuff you can run into. But the more important piece that I'm focusing on is I want the story to be driven by all of you. I don't want to be sitting here, and I'll be honest, I could do it. I could do it with Rapier, with Cliff. We could sit down, we could storyboard it out and say, here's what we're going to do. But we want the competitions and the fictions that were created for those competitions to help drive what's going on. So this is actually what Rapier's been doing for the last couple months, and what we've been talking on is he's reviewing all the fictions. We're looking through and we're saying, hey, I like this piece from this story, but I don't like anything else. I like these couple elements, or I like this theme from this other fiction. How can we pull that out and incorporate it? So we're looking to take components from what was submitted through the fictions, for the graphics, etc., and say, here's where the next plot point derives.
Oh, God.
And for all of you to sit there and say, oh my gosh, I made that, or I created that, or I wrote about that, and now I'm seeing me, and I'm already invested because I helped make it, drive the story forward.
I'm actually so afraid now. I was like, wait, you're taking from the fictions for the past few months. I'm in there. I'm like, oh no. What? Please, what? Don't tell me you've used any of my stuff, because I don't know if it's good enough for EH canon.
No. So it's the ones that were submitted for the, it was from last year's big competition. We're not pulling straight from run-on. Let me make this incredibly clear. The Silwar Hansu plotline is not canon.
Oh no, I think you just made someone, a specific warrior commodore, really mad.
No, Marinta can rewrite it at any time she wants, but it's not canon to me yet. I will now let her blow up my DMs being like, what are you talking about?
Actually, I think she's the one. Yep, she's clipping this very moment. I'm guessing she needs some video evidence. Oh no. In the famous words of Knuckles the Echidna, oh no.
Uh-oh.
So yeah, there you go, Marenta. I'm sorry, continue.
Those are the things that they take more time, but the end product has a better hook and a better engagement for everyone when it is that way, and that's something that I see as an evolution for the TIE Corps. Is how can we go from simply, hey, we're gamers, and I'll take a moment, let's acknowledge we're gamers. We do it very well. We have a presence. I've seen some of the comments from some of the other online clubs, whether it's in Battlefront or Squadrons, be like, oh look, it's the Emperor's Hammer. You guys are always playing together. You're screwing up the queues because solo queues aren't working. And it's like, well, buddy, that's the point.
I see someone has been reading the JV officer chats.
So, see, let this be a lesson. You never know where I am reading up on things.
Yeah.
But we do this very well. Look at Raise the Flag, Imperial Storm. These competitions, we game, and it's fantastic. But the opportunity is, how can we build a story element around it? Part of Imperial Storm does this very well. Hey, we're going to go and try and capture these territories. Well, what if that's advancing this plot line? What if it's, hey, we're not just, randomly selecting some planets to capture as a board game. It's, we've entered this new region of the unknown region, and we need to establish another beachhead. How are we going to do that? We now need to, now that we've established a beachhead, we need supplies. How are we going to do that? What's our objectives? And this is why I always love Imperial Storm. I would love to have it as a board game. I would pay legit money.
I was actually going to ask you that question, because that question that I know you're reading off the list, that one is specifically from Phoenix himself. He was, I asked all the Commodores for one question, each of them to ask to you, and unfortunately I didn't get one from Silwar, so I just chose 2 from both Phoenix and Marenta. And he really wanted to push the idea, apparently, of Imperial Storm being an actual board game, one that could possibly be put on the tabletop simulator.
Absolutely, I would love it. I actually found last year there's a website you can make your own board games.
Yeah,
they'll print out on a cardboard stock your board, and you can get figures and dice and all this other stuff. It is suited to be a board game, and it would be fantastic. Now, obviously, the way we play it is far more engaging than simply like, oh, okay, your fleet meets another fleet, roll, 3 dice or whatever. But it works. It works for that type of a setting. So I would love to do it.
So you would, So there you go, Phoenix. I don't know if I know you're probably asleep, but when you watch the video, the podcast, there's your answer. He is very much interested in doing a tabletop version of Imperial Storm, and I'm actually happy to hear that.
But I have an Oculus Quest 2.
Oh my God! All right,
So
we're raising the stakes. We're raising the stakes. We're not only doing it in a tabletop simulator, we're doing it in VR.
Yes.
Oh my God! I need to actually. It's funny. I have a VR headset. I have tabletop simulator. Not once have I used the 2 together yet.
See, I love the Quest. So I'll take it back to 2020. So 2020, we're locked in finding the Emperor's Hammer.
Yep.
And I'm trying to think of a fancy way to say this, but my wife and I kind of gave each other pandemic presents. I had to search for some alliteration there. So pandemic presents is going to become a thing.
Okay, yeah, go on.
So I bought my wife a greenhouse. So we built a greenhouse in the backyard, and we put in these 4 massive raised planters for gardening. And she said, well, you can go and you can finally upgrade your computer that you last built in 2008 to have a modern computer. I was like, that's great. It's like a Squadrons is coming out, a Squadrons in VR. I'm going to do VR.
Oh,
so
my God, yeah.
I have found I love VR. And again, coming out of the pandemic, I could get into my Quest. I have it hooked up to the computer. Then it was through wired. Now it's wireless.
Lucky, I still have the wired version.
But what you can do is you can basically go to this virtual home, and connect to the desktop. So I would sit in this virtual log cabin in the middle of the forest and talk to you guys, or write. So I love VR. I think it's a great means of being social and being engaging, especially in an increasingly remote landscape.
Right. Now, oh my God, I have so many projects I want to do for the EH in VR, but I kind of want to keep them on the down low until we have the resources for it. But hearing that hearing that, it's like, okay, good. We do have someone in the command staff. I didn't know if Pliff or any of the others in the command staff actually even touched VR, but now hearing that, it's like, okay, cool. I can pitch all these ideas to you and see what you would think about it. Still fleshing them out, but we'll get back to those one day.
And again, there you have exactly how I went from I just need to be in a position where I can take some online courses and fiddle fart around trying to make a mission, to, hey, can I run some ideas by you?
Yeah.
It just happens that naturally.
Yeah.
If I was a politician, I would be dangerous.
Oh my God, I don't even want to think about it, because I have a standing reputation that I 100% hate every single politician. But then I get people that, like, you hate politicians, yet you act like them sometimes. I'm like, you take that back before I smack you. But it's like, I look back at what they said, I'm like, damn it, that is something what a politician would do. What? what do I do with this information? But I had to ask this because I know Marenta's constantly stabbing me in the back to ask you this. Bit of a sidetrack question because I know she's been dying to hear the answer. Back in Imperial Storm, when you were making the Kamjin cards for the Drunken Admiral, which will be another question here in a second. So, based off of her words, which card did you have the most evil glee issuing to a fleet that landed on your slippery speakeasy?
So that's a great question. The one to me that I had the most fun writing. What was probably there's two, and I'll tell you the two.
Okay.
So the first one is despite your best efforts, the ISP party last night with the whole hangar deck crew, none of them have reported to duty negative 500 repair points.
Yeah, the challenge have had that one before. Thanks for that.
So I love that one because in my mind, I'm picturing that there was at least one person who was trying to stop the party. That was like, what are you doing? You can't be drinking that much. You can't be doing this. And it reminds me a lot of my fraternity days of, inevitably one person being like, don't you have class in the morning?
Yep,
why are you doing that keg stand? And you're like, I don't care. It's weather and climate.
Yep,
hoist me up.
That's me. I'm raising my hand right now because that's so me.
So like that's... So that one I'm laughing that in my head canon, there's at least one person who got that card who was like running around like Bilbo Baggins when the dwarf showed up, being like, "Don't chip my plates, don't bend my spoon." It's like, stop it,
because that's what Bilbo Baggins hates.
And then here I am just being like, "Nah, we're gonna party all night, keep it going." So that's one. The second one is you got distracted during the party, and the ISP snuck into the bridge and messed with the navigational controls. You receive one random movement this turn. And then
I think the challenge got that one too.
Yeah, I hear it's towards an awesome party. Because that's another one that is like, someone was probably like, okay, Kamjin's here, we're having some brews, the tequila's, pouring liberally. Keep an eye on them. It's like some poor sub-lieutenant is like, your only job is to hang out with this high-ranking individual and make sure they don't get in trouble. And they lose sight. It's like
they blink and you're gone.
It's like I turned my head for just 1 second. How could that happen? Like being berated by the Commodore, being like, how could you mess this up? Where is he? And then all of a sudden the ship just lurches to the side. They're like, he's on the bridge. Everyone races to the bridge, and I'm just, drunkenly stooped over the controls, being like, yeah, we're heading to starboard as we lean to port.
Oh my god, we need to find an illustrator to like actually make these like little mini cartoons, because I actually want to visually see that. not even joking. Oh my god.
Those are the two that I just really liked. The other ones were kind of, especially the positive ones, you're kind of like, okay.
Yeah, I think that was another one that we got, was the first one we got from the Drunken Admiral space that we landed on, 500 plus repair points. It's like, oh cool, we got off easy the first time. Second time, minus 500. It's like, right, we've canceled that out completely, utterly pointless. And then the third time we got moved randomly. I'm like, can we stop? Please?
Yeah, and that became a point of conversation, and that is something that we'll look at in the next version. Was the way I operate it is I'm literally doing random rolls. I'm going to Google and saying roll 6d6. I'm turning it in and saying, okay, wherever this takes me, let it take me.
That's how I was always wondering how the Drunken Admiral moved in the IS-4 board. Now I know.
So it's all completely random. There is legit no more thought. I would get a message from Phoenix, usually around the time I was getting up to take my kids to school. I'll go, I gotta roll. go on my phone.
I would have just pre-rolled before I went to bed.
So whenever it comes, it comes.
Yeah, okay.
Would roll it, take a snapshot, and say, here they are. Read it upper left to bottom right. And away we went. So towards the end, whenever it was becoming evident, gosh, I'm hitting a ship like every other turn, we started multiplying my moves. So if I was moving, I would move like 2 spaces at a time, so that it would be less frequent.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did you hit us 4 times? 3 times. 4 times. Yeah, 3 times. I think you hit the warrior once.
Correct.
Did you even hit the hammer?
I don't think I did.
Damn.
I think the hammer, is an opportunity for me to party with on another level.
Okay.
But when, the whole thing came about as a joke. So, of course, we're joking about this. And I think next year, maybe we'll have some rapier cards in there as well.
Oh, so what? Rapier's going to be the good... In terms of Monopoly, Rapier's the chance cards. Community chest cards. Yours are the chance cards.
I'm chance, you would be community chest.
Oh, God. Correction. Morenta is stating that the warrior got hit 2 times.
Oh. I was too drunk to remember the second time.
Man, this role-playing is really accurate. Wait.
Well, and it's honestly, the whole joke of the Drunken Admiral, I embrace it. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
I actually don't drink that much. With 4 kids, showing, 1, having an opportunity to drink to excess is limited, but 2, coming home intoxicated is dangerous.
Yeah.
Because if you come home intoxicated and the kids are still awake, you better fake it, buddy.
Yeah. It's like the good old days back in the Navy where we'd have to muster at attention every morning, and the poor fools who were drinking all night and tried to stay at attention is not possible. So we literally had to somehow hide the fact that we're holding them up while staying at the attention. Very difficult to do. Very, very difficult to do without getting caught. we managed it, but never again do I want to do that.
So now, some of you may be wondering, how did this whole thing come about?
I was about to ask, why Seagrams and why copious amounts of Seagrams?
So what happened? So this was not this Chalkila Cup, the one before it. So that was
2. Because I think this is
March or
3.
April?
Yeah. That sounds about right, yeah.
So March, April 2021. Things are starting to kind of give some easement, at least for a little while in 2021. So I forget what was going on, but my wife took all the kids. Like, all the kids were out of the house. My wife was out of the house. And I had to do some yard work, so like I mowed. I hadn't eaten anything that day because I was like, I gotta do it for myself. Who wants to do that? But I was like, hey, I'm gonna fly. I'm gonna fly in VR. I was like, I'll have something to drink. Why not? So of course I go through the house and there's nothing but Seagrams. Now, my wife doesn't like to drink. The long story to that is my wife doesn't have a gallbladder, and alcohol just passes through her. So heavy alcohol, beer doesn't do well. So we get, whenever she does feel like having a drink, it's usually sangria or Seagrams.
Yeah, good, yeah.
So we had Seagram daiquiris in the house, and I was like, well, we're not having friends over. I don't know how old these things are. I don't want them to go to waste. So there were, I think there were 8 that were available. And it's, hey, I'm just hanging out. I'm gonna have one, have 2. And then it was, okay, we're getting ready to fly, so I better bring in a few just, in case.
I see where this is going.
And whenever I fly, I tend to fly with the Quest on, so I can't really see what's going on.
Right.
So I'm just like grabbing the drink and like tossing it back. And it's soon enough, I'm like 5 or 6 Seagrams in.
Oh no.
And I'm having a rip-roaring good time. Now my piloting,
Not so much.
my piloting at this point, we were on the map with the asteroids.
Oh,
And
Galatan. Okay, yes.
Galatan.
The one I
when you
hate
fly
the
Galatan,
most. Oh, no.
It is very easy to end up scraping against those asteroids.
Especially
that was pretty much all I was doing.
Especially the little small ones that you don't notice they're there until it's too late. And, oh, look, pilot error.
Well, when you're in a TIE fighter, you don't exactly have the best visibility.
Yeah, that's also true.
When you're spinning, intoxicated, in a TIE fighter, it takes a little bit of time for your eyes to recenter on what's in front of you. I think I got maybe 1 or 2 kills. So, I mean, I wasn't completely worthless, but I was pretty worthless.
Wow.
And
I just saw what Hijacker wrote in chat. Spinning? I heard that's a good trick.
It is a great trick.
Yeah, it is.
So it just became like, hey, we're flying with the drunken admiral. And never be one to let a good joke die. I was like, yeah, let's play that up. But in seriousness, that's kind of the drink that we have on hand.
Right.
Because whenever we do have people over and we have beer or cider and Seagrams, the beer and the cider tends to go very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what lingers in the house. And I'm not going to break out the hard liquor just to have a drink.
Right. Yeah.
But no, that's how it came about. It literally came about from I have nothing else to do. The kids are gone. I'm gonna fly. I've got permission to do this.
So one night in Galatan. This seems to be the running gag with a few members here in the TC. You with the drunken admiral, and then we also got Hijacker, who's also in chat, where we were doing the what was the competition with within the challenge? I think it was the challenge championship something. It's the one that Hanso was running a while back. Chow Cup Leaks. Yeah, thank you, Hijacker. And for those of you who don't play Star Wars Squadrons, the B-Wing is a selectable ship in the game, and it has this ability. If you add the gyroscope, the gyroscope, I call it a gyroscope, the gyro auxiliary on that, you can adjust the ship's orientation. It's a useless ability. You don't need to actually do it in the game. I don't know why it was even there in the first place. Game designers were just stretching for ideas to put on the B-Wing. But originally it was meant to increase, keyword, to increase the amount of rockets or ammo capacity that your other auxiliaries have. Someone read that wrong and thought that if you spin the ship, you recharge your ammo.
Oh gosh.
So it was the I forgot what it was. I think it was for the third place my team, the Black Thunder, that had Xylo in it at the time, against I'm so bad with trying to remember Hijacker's name back then, or his team's name back then, but it was both of them. It was ruled that we had to do a 1v1. Whoever wins the third place ranking. We were getting second and first, so it was like, let's just get it over with. Firefowl, thank you. Yes, it was Team Firefowl versus the Team Black Thunder. And Xylo was running his normal TIE fighter build, and Hijacker took the B-Wing with the gyro auxiliary and rockets. And as he says in his defense, someone told me that I hadn't read the description at all. So he thought it was just spin it and it will charge your ammo and lasers. Fine. So he does. Mind you, a lot of us are watching this as spectators and just seeing a big wing windmill for no reason, and then we hear, why aren't my rockets recharging?
See, I love stories like that.
Yeah.
You know, those are the hidden gems, real moments between people in this club. That those stories are going to live on. You're going to hear those stories recited for years to come.
Oh yeah. And it's like, I know there's others. I can't bring them to mind right now, but I've heard other stories that happened in Galatan where it's just like it sticks with people, and that's like, it always happens on that map. Why that map? I don't know.
You know, it's a fun map for me, and for me, you know, whenever I was making TIE Fighter missions back in the late 90s, never published. I don't think I have a single Medal of Tactics.
Yeah. Same.
But the thing I always wanted to do was, like, I want to fly through stuff. I want to have obstacles. I want to, you know, I loved the glitches in that game of, hey, I can blow the missile launcher off of a Star Destroyer, fly inside of it. It's just, you know, as long as I fly with the ship, I can just go to town and never get shot. Had no idea what I was doing was an exploit of a game. I thought I was being cool. But, so whenever I would make missions, I would put, like, as many asteroids as I could, or put as many space stations close to each other. And whenever X-Wing Alliance came out and you could, like, actually fly inside of things, I was, like, always putting those things in and be like, oh, this is great. I actually have to, like, fly, and I have to, like, show my skill. I love it. So having those maps in Squadrons, I love it. It's also why I hate Yavin. It's like, all I'm gonna do at Yavin is what X-Wing Alliance multiplayer was back in the day. It's, all right, we're gonna fly right at each other, and whoever has the steadier hand or is able to track with your movement wins. Yeah. And where's the fun in that?
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of you who have a proponents and a preference to Yavin, and that it's truly the skill, but to me it's boring.
I think the only good things I hear from Yavin is during my time trial events. Because since there is no obstacles and the spawns are so close to each other, the time boards are so close. Which I have to ask you, your thoughts on the insane times that are being posted. What are your thoughts on those?
I honestly don't have an opinion on it. Tell me more about this.
So the time trials that have been running, the Legion's challenging time trials, it's pretty much, think of me in a TIE Interceptor or an A-Wing, acting as the Golden Stitch from Harry Potter. You have to kill me 3 times as quickly as possible. I don't fire back. All I do is run away. No countermeasures even. And it's only on Yavin for this season. I had it with in other seasons where it was going to be just random maps. Those tended to be a problem because then you'd get something like Nadiri Dockyards, which is one of the longest maps other than, I believe, Xavier Abyss, which was even longer, and the times would be 3 to 5 minutes. It's like, that's not fun in a time trials competition. But yeah, I was always, when I first started this competition, it was like, no one's gonna get under 3 minutes. It's gonna be impossible. And then Jospens freaking blew that out of the park, along with several others. Second season came by, I'm like, okay, cool, so fine, a minute. No one can do under a minute. Again, gets broken down completely. I'm like, all right, fine. 30 seconds. No one's gonna get under 30 seconds. Literally on the time board right now, if you look at the competition center, I think our fastest time currently from Vice Admiral Silwar at a 19.95 seconds, with Kebla Omega at 19.96. At this point, we've reached the human capacity factor. I don't think it's possible at this point to break or to get any lower than those. And every time I keep saying that, every time it gets broken. And everyone that has been keeping track of it, has just been saying these times are absolutely insane. And yeah, I was just wondering if what people's reactions are to seeing that, and trying to get their live reactions. But
Yeah, so I'll give you my reaction is we've been doing stuff like that in the Emperor's Hammer for decades. So back in the day, there when we had elite squadrons. So elite squadrons here, and gosh, someone is going to say something in chat, whoever it is. I'm not looking. I'm not going to answer it. There.
Marenta's already laughing.
I know, but each elite squadron kind of had their own criteria of things that you would need to do. I think you can look up Tao's. Most of Tao's stuff was joke based. But Black Squadron in the Infiltrator wing had a time trial for the X-Wing. It was the original X-Wing game. It was the X-Wing training mission where you had to clear a minefield, and I think there's like 2 containers you either have to destroy or inspect or something like that. And I'm trying to remember, it was like you had to do it under a minute, and it was like, that's impossible. It's like no one could do it. As I was going through it, I'm like, it takes me 3 minutes. But then you start working the problem. You're like, oh, well, I'm taking all this time for a targeting lock to shoot my torpedoes. I can dummy fire them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that takes out some time. Then I was like, hey, that got me down to a minute and a half. Okay, well, what's next? It's like, well, how much time is it taking me to, like, target? It's like, oh, well, if I'm targeting, instead of recognizing the pattern for the grid that the minefield is laid out, I'm wasting more time trying to target, because that target may have me move out of direction whenever I could have taken 2 or 3 out in a row.
Mm-hmm.
So let's stop targeting. And then it's, well, what else could I do? I'm like at a minute 20 or whatever it is. And then it's like, well, I'm charging my engines, or I'm charging my shields, I'm charging my lasers. Well, if I dump all of those into my engines and I know which way to fly and where to turn, it's like all of a sudden you're at 58 seconds. And I was like, I just want to get into the squadron. I'll get to 58 seconds. I'm good. There were people that were way lower than that. So as you start working the problem, as you start seeing the patterns, hey, where do I spawn? Where do they spawn? Where am I going to intercept them? All right, if someone goes and intercepts them at that point, where's the spawn point? Where are they going to come back? How can I position myself after that kill to get to that spawn point? Because there's a spawn timer, depending upon what your criteria is. How long is it going to wait for them to come in? Do I have enough time to get over there? So the more you run the same scenario, the more you will learn, and the more you'll be prepared to be able to go and get faster. So it doesn't surprise me that it's getting fast. I do think that there's probably a bottom that you'll get to. I'm not saying that 19 seconds is the bottom, but probably somewhere close to that. Is you need to have enough time for them to spawn, for you to confirm where they are, to start moving to lead them, and then make your shots.
Okay, so yeah, that does sound similar to what the top 5 have been doing. The top 5 competitors in the on the time board are doing right now. They're trying to find. It's like, oh, we need to memorize where the spawn points are, or maybe if I use this auxiliary instead of this auxiliary, or something like that. So yeah, that sounds very familiar. I'm glad to know that I wasn't actually the only one to think of something like that. Thank God, because I was actually afraid, like, wait, all this time, the EH hasn't had some sort of time trial? Impossible. I couldn't have been the only one to bring something like that. That's actually reassuring to know that I wasn't. But
and it really came back to, the old school days. I mean, I think that was probably the only one I was aware of, but I'm sure there were others. Anyway.
Yeah.
No, that was a great one. Happy to give you my unscripted reaction.
Okay. So one last thing I got here was your time in the DB, in the Dark Brotherhood. I don't remember who asked me that question, but it was on there. What was your time in the Dark Brotherhood?
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is kind of an open-ended question. Is that the word?
So I'll take you through my time with the DB. So I joined the Dark Brotherhood out of Praetorian Squadron, best elite squadron there is. Again, I can't hear you. I don't see your comments. Whatever you're typing, I don't care. It's the best one. So at the time, the rule at the time was if you want to make a house, which was a grouping within the Dark Brotherhood, you need to have something like 33 members. And Wrath, Wrath, who was the commander for Praetorian Squadron, was working with another individual in the intelligence division to start a new house. It was House Skule Palatine. And he basically was going down the line and he was asking, Marinta, I told you, I don't see it, I don't hear it, doesn't exist. So he was asking, he's like, hey, we're getting close to having enough people to create this house. Would you be willing to join? And I said, sure, why not? Had no idea what I was getting into. I was in Green Squadron, I was in Praetorian Squadron. That was kind of like where I was at. I was happy, I was young. So I joined. I'm an apprentice. So I'm to this day, one of the proudest moments I have is I was a founding member of that clan, that house, and then that clan, and then it goes on. Marinta, stop it. I don't care what squadron you think was better. You're wrong, and that's okay. I still appreciate you. So I joined the house, and that was the time where the Shadow Academy, which was their version of the IWATs, you joined as an apprentice. But if you took the Shadow Academy test, you would go from an apprentice to a guardian. So this would be kind of akin to you joining as a sub-lieutenant and taking a test and suddenly being a major. Oh. So I went from, I filled in 10 questions. That hurt, Marinta.
Oh, did you see chat?
I'm seeing her messaging me privately.
Oh, the DMs. Oh no. Because I was like, I'm looking at chat and I didn't see anything until what Hijacker said. Something obelisk, something Achilles.
Yeah. Good to know. So basically, the way the Shadow Academy worked was it was 10 questions, like, what color is Darth Vader's lightsaber? I mean, super simple questions.
Ah, okay.
And then depending upon your order, at the time there were only the Sith and the Krath.
Krath, yeah.
So if you were a Sith track, you flew a TIE fighter free mission. If you were a Krath, you made like a poem or something.
Okay.
Very minimal effort. So it went from, hey, I'm here. I was asked to kind of like be a warm body, to, hey, I'm a guardian. Okay, well, what does that mean? And then I became the commander of the House Squadron. And this still boggles my mind. I mean, I have it. I'm not going to give it away. I'm not going to give it up. I earned it. But there was some competition we ran, and the House Squadron won. And so I got an Emerald Dagger. So an Emerald Dagger is like a GOE, or an Imperial Cross. I mean, it is a top tier award within the Dark Brotherhood. And here I am with one of those. It's like I had one of those before I had like an ISM or a PC. I mean, this very Wild West.
Yeah.
So loved it. I was like, gosh, this is great. Look at all these great awards. Now, the hook was I wanted to get a lightsaber. At the time, you had to be a Dark Jedi Knight before you could get a lightsaber. So I was like, hey, what do I have to do?
Still think it is. Still think it is.
It's still,
yeah.
it is still. So I was like, how do I get this? So I'm moving up the ranks. Now, in that time frame, so I eventually make it. I bugged the Grandmaster at the time. His name was Jack. Just constantly. It's like, hey, I made some graphics. Is that enough for promotion to Jedi Hunter? And it's like, yeah, I guess so. It's like, hey, I did some of this. I was very good at self-promoting. It's like, hey, I just want to let you know, leader of the club, that I did something minor. Would you please recognize me for it? Completely ignoring all the chain of command. This is why you don't have preteens, or early teenagers in a club like this. So at a certain point, there's the great clanning. So the clanning, trust me, my wife makes fun of this to this day. She's like, "Oh, you're gonna go play with your little clan?" I'm like, "Would you please stop talking about that?" So the clanning occurred once the obelisk came into play. So that's the ground troopers. So you basically had Sith that flew, Krath that rode, and obelisks that hit things with their glow sticks. And each house became a clan. Each clan had 3 houses. So I was the first Adderley, which is the second in command of a house, for a Clavius Draco, all within DSP. So I was the first, second in command. I was the second in command of the house. Grew up to be consul of that clan, and I loved it. Loved that community. Loved the people that we worked with. And I had an opportunity. I was a magistrate for the headmaster. I was the one when Dark Forces 2 Jedi Knight came out. I was the one who found where the save file was within the gaming files, and how to pull it out and read it to be able to say, hey, you've gotten to a certain point. So as the Shadow Academy was looking at, what's the obelisk version of that free mission, I was the one who proposed, like, hey, look, if they get it to level 12, as long as you go to level 12 and you make a choice to be the dark side, that counts. And that would be your exam. So I was the one who enabled the Shadow Academy for the obelisk. Okay. So my job became very tedious. So everyone who became a obelisk member would submit their file, and here's what I would do. I would open up the game, pop in the file, read it, check that they were dark side, come back and say, yes, it passes.
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't exciting, but it was important work. And from there, I went on to be Praetor for the Master at Arms, which was the roster keeper. And it's amazing. It never dawned on me until recently. I did that job a lot in a lot of different places. I was the flight officer for the Infiltrator Wing. I was the Master at Arms for the Dark Brotherhood. I think I did a similar role for the corporate division. But I kept coming back to that role.
Okay.
At the time, it was very easy to keep track of it because you just had to put it onto a Word document.
Right.
Now, I was Master at Arms when I was 17, and there were 2 things that kind of coalesced there. One, I was a senior. I was applying for colleges. I was going and looking at colleges, and Zoran was the Grandmaster. And for those of you who don't know who Zoran is, you are lucky. The man role played every interaction with you. So every email he sent, every chat he would have with you on IRC, he was in character.
Ooh, that's dedication. I like it, actually.
And you could be cool. You could do role playing. There are times where you can do like a role playing session and be like, yes, I'm going to be Kamjin. I'm going to be the drunk admiral. Woohoo, yay! But then there's like, you're trying to do work.
I see.
And
this is good. Yeah.
You're trying to understand, what's going on. How do you want to engage? And you're getting these grandstanding, like, I have the power of the Force and I don't need to. And you're like, dude, just get to the point.
It's like I asked you to do 4 copies of this Word document. I don't need to know you can use the Force. Something like that? Yeah, okay.
Pretty much.
Okay.
So I ran into a problem of, I was gone for a week. And, I was 17. I didn't tell them where I was. And that, looking back as an adult, it was my fault. Should have done that. Should have been like, hey, I'm focusing on finals. I'm not going to be around.
Right, yeah.
Could have done it. I didn't. So he slapped me with the dereliction of duty, and he fired me publicly, and stripped me of my rank.
Oof.
And I was pissed off.
Naturally, yeah. That is the natural.
20, 21, 22 years later, I'm like, yeah, I get it.
Still don't
Still
like it.
Still an overreaction. I still don't like it, but I get it. So I kind of went dormant for a while. Came back in college. And again, went back to school at Palatine. Became Adelie of Caliburnus, the Sith house at that time, because the houses now were aligned to each of the different orders. Went on to be Quaestor, Pro-Council, kind of see a trend here.
I was gonna say, for those of you who are not in the Dark Brotherhood, there is a manual that can explain all the ranks. Don't worry if you're like coming into this part of the video or the podcast and like, what is he saying? There is a manual for that, all on our website.
Yeah, and the way I would translate it here very quickly is, I basically came back as a flight leader, commander, wing commander, commodore.
All right.
And similar type level of responsibility.
Right.
Now, the Brotherhood was always operated differently. You had all the clans, and each clan had its own personality, and you had the Dark Council. So the role I ended up in was that of emissary. So the emissary basically ran an assembly of all the councils. And we were touching on things like possessions, on master student program, like training programs, all those things.
Mm-hmm.
And then we would put the proposal together, see if we like it. Then I would bring it to the Dark Council and say, we want to vote on this. Got my rank back. So I'm an adept. One rank below master. I'm the Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah, I was just
Dark Brotherhood.
I was just gonna say, it's like you literally pulled an Anakin right there. Congratulations.
It's like we allow you to be on this council, but we don't award you the rank of master.
Take a seat.
Pretty much. So I did that. And that led into the Exodus. So I'll briefly touch on the Exodus. I won't go into.
Okay.
I won't go into a lot of the back and forths to it, but it basically boiled down to Astatine.
Yes, this is the one that I've heard so much about from Miles.
Yeah, so again, this could be a whole separate podcast in great detail.
Yeah.
But the bottom line, and again, it's a lesson that I had to learn as well, is you can't control everything. If you're going to be a successful, high-ranking leader, you can't control and do everything yourself. You have to trust your team, and you have to trust their subordinates.
Right. You can't
to be able to work together.
Yeah, you can't micromanage literally everything. What's the point of having a chain of command?
Right. And that was Astatine's problem. Astatine wanted to micromanage. He wanted to be in control. He wanted to be making decisions. He would in effect say, hey, I'm going to let you make this choice. You would come back and make your choice, like, no, that's not what I want. I want this other choice. So what the Brotherhood wanted was, hey, look, we're happy to stay with the Emperor's Hammer. Can we just stop talking to Astatine? and work with Ronan. And part of the role of the executive officer was you oversee all the subgroups. Well, I interpret that now, as a mature adult, as you're an advisor to them. You're there to help bring down barriers. What do you need? What are you trying to do? Do you need to get time with, like, a Turtle to say, Turtle, we need to prioritize some improvements to the website. This is what we're looking to do. Where does that fit in? Sure, let's make that connection. Let's discuss priorities, and let's see what can come down and what can go up. It's, hey, you're wanting to run this, and you need the support of, like, hey, it would be great if the Thai Corps would do this with us. All right, let's bring Pliff into the conversation. Let's talk through that. It's like, that's really what the executive officer should be doing. It's, how can I help you be successful? What Asatine took that as is, no, I'm your boss. I am telling you what to do. You will do it my way or the highway.
Oof.
And they opted for the highway.
Oof. Yeah, that's about right.
So it's an unfortunate situation of, it could have been de-escalated. It could have been walked back. And personalities just would not back down. And you saw how that ultimately played out with Asatine when he became fleet commander. His way or the highway.
Yep. I heard all about that from Miles yesterday. We were actually in a discussion about something else. I'm not going to get in it. But yeah, he was regaling me his side of the tale of that whole event, we'll call it. And yeah, I learned a lot that day. All right, go ahead.
So that's kind of my time with the DV within the Emperor's Hammer. From there, it was when you were in the Star Wars Galaxies or Star Wars The Old Republic, you kind of had a Brotherhood profile, but we did everything within the raid group, so there was no recognition elsewhere. And then kind of now as an ISP, I advise anywhere. So regardless of which group or what's going on, but if you have questions, I'm here to talk through it.
So then here's a quick question, because I'm always going to be plugging this. What are your thoughts on Empire at War being part of the Emperor's Hammer Thai Corps at this point? Sorry, I always ask that question to everybody. If you don't have an answer, don't worry about it.
So there's two prevailing thoughts, and I'll be candid. Rapier and I disagree on this, and it's okay to disagree, because there is a long-standing precedent, and this is Rapier's position, which makes sense. And I'll be clear, it makes sense, and I have no problems with it.
Mm-hmm.
Is there's been a long-standing division along certain games within the Emperor's Hammer to draw the attention to say, hey, this group exists around this type of game because we want to attract that community. Because if we put it all into one community, it gets diluted. So if I'm seeking to play Battlefront as an example, and the Thai Corps is all focused around squadrons, how easily am I going to find someone to game? How easily am I going to be in a group with like-minded individuals? So if I'm in Sin Squadron, and I'm like, hey guys, I joined. I have Battlefront 1 and 2. I really want, I'll fly. I'll do the flying stuff, but I also do the ground stuff. That's my jam. And everyone in Sin Squadron's going, well, we're just flying squadrons. How invested are you to stay in Sin Squadron? So then you go looking, and let's say that you look and you go, oh gosh, there's Alpha Squadron. Alpha Squadron is playing Battlefront. I want to go play with them, but Alpha Squadron is full. Well, where are you going to go?
Right.
You'll most likely leave. So there is a benefit of saying, hey, if you're interested in playing these type of games, Galaxy of Heroes, Star Trek Online, Jedi Academy or whatnot, come here, come to the Dark Brotherhood. That exists for that purpose. If you want to fly squadrons, if you want to play Star Conflict, TIE Corps is your jam. It makes sense to help direct people like that. Now the problem becomes, what happens whenever there's a group of people that want to play it but don't want to be in those other communities?
Right.
How do you balance that out? So that is a topic that, for me personally, it's let people play the games. How we track them in terms of recognition points is for us to decide to say, hey, if you want to play Empire at War, go right ahead. But maybe that's not a Legion of Combat. Maybe that's not a Legion of Skirmish. Maybe that's not progressing those specific items, because then you're artificially inflating them. And there was a conversation a couple years back about, hey, I'm just a single player pilot. I'm not playing multiplayer. So for me to be able to get to the highest tiers is impossible. I've done the math. There's not enough free missions or battles I can do to like get there.
Mm-hmm.
What could be the option? So right now, I think the prevailing thought, and I'll ask Pliff here later tonight, is that it's kind of more not a TIE Corps game. But that's not to say that that's always the case. This organization has grown. It's fluid. It has to be. So how do we find a middle ground? Because you look at things like the Hammer's Fist.
Mm-hmm.
Does it come back? Does it exist? Does it have a role? Can it exist? And you go and you rehash some of the old arguments from the 94 to 2000 era of, well, I want to play those games, so do I have to have a profile on the Hammer's Fist? Do I have to have a profile on the Dark Brotherhood? What happens when suddenly I'm split 2 to 3 different ways? Does everything suffer?
I haven't actually thought about it that way.
So that's the things that I'm talking through with Rapier and Pliff and Turtle, and I talk about it. Marinta and I have talked about it in the past. It's at the time, and I'll use myself as an example. Being 12 to 17, it was, I'm gonna be a stormtrooper for a little bit, do a little bit there, but I would only last like a month, and then I'd drop out. Then I would come back in a few months later when I wanted to do something. So where's the longevity? But I wouldn't want to be clones like that, because where's the story? Personally, I like to fancy myself a writer. I would love to be a professional writer. I don't know if I'll ever get there. But like if I'm looking at Maverick as a character that has existed through the last 27 years, how do I tell a story that says, oh yeah, Kamjin, there's Kamjin the executive officer, but there's also Kamjin the stormtrooper, Kamjin the infiltrator, Kamjin the intelligence division officer, and the elite pilot, and the corporate division executive, and the bounty hunter. You start sounding like it's the plot of Moon Knight. It's like, how many people exist within me?
Yes.
I
was just thinking that.
And it gets confusing. So if I want to build my character now, and this is something that I've talked to Hijack about, is how can we encourage the wiki? How can we go from the Imperial Navy personnel record, which is kind of flat, and move that into a wiki and be like, hey, build your character. Who are you? Yes, you are in the TIE Corps now, but you had a life before this. It's not the age of the Empire where it's, hey, everyone, you're just going to be funneled through a recruiting station to us. Are you from Aurora Prime? Are you from Corellia? If you're from Corellia, how the heck did you find us? What's that story?
Yeah.
Tell the story. Help grow the story. And to do that, it's hard to now segment everything out. Like some of the things complement each other. Hey, I'm a TIE pilot and I happen to be a Dark Jedi because I'm Force sensitive. All right, that complements each other. They works together. They're not mutually exclusive. You know, to use the parlance, you can be a businessman through the week and still be a deacon at church at the weekend. But to say, hey, I'm a businessman during the day, but at night suddenly I become a
Super Saiyan.
a shift worker at Home Depot. It's like there's not a lot of people that do two separate competing jobs like that.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be like, hey guys, I got to clock out of my TIE fighter at 5 o'clock. I got to get down to the ground, put on my Stormtrooper armor because the Sarge wants me to be on the line. That story doesn't work.
Right. Sorry, I just when you were about to say the shift worker, I just added Super Saiyan in there. I'm like, I want to actually see that, a Super Saiyan shift worker at Lowe's. Wait.
It could work.
Yeah.
I mean, good training.
So like, yeah, same thing with the Legion character that I made. It's like, he's a masked Mandalorian. Doesn't really follow the same Mandalorian views as the current ones. Drummer. And backstory of him is he was an ISB agent who also flew a lot of TIE interceptors, lots of TIE interceptors, made his own. Thus the whole Ghost Bullet that I made in the Valkyrie series. And yeah, but current a lot of the big time questions is how the hell does he have all these abilities and powers? It's like, well, I'm just getting into that with the backstories because those were backburner projects that I've been working on for the longest time. And it's funny because how this character was originally a D&D character that I had, based off of to quote, an undead tiefling warlock. And yeah, it's like, I had this like, everybody wanted me to make a character. I'm like, fine, I'll just convert that character's backstory, make it insert Star Wars logo in here, same character. Literally the exact same character. So yeah, making the story very difficult, but it's very possible.
Right. And see, that's where those are things that are timeless. Like the video games will come and go. Yeah. I mean, I get teased and I openly admit and joke to it. It's like I've got a massive new computer with bleeding edge technology into it. And I'm running a Super Nintendo emulator on it and TIE Fighter. There's always going to be some timelessness to those games, but they'll ebb and flow. They'll go away. But writing has existed for all the time.
Yeah.
Artwork has existed for all the time. So special call out to Newt. Seeing that artwork that's being created, seeing. Looking at the avatars within Discord and being like, oh my gosh, like there's Marinta. I didn't know Marinta had, white hair locks. There's, all of those. It makes it real. And that was something that as this community, whenever I was younger and first getting involved into it, was always the wow factor to me is, I can write and I can put this together and it sounds like a 12-year-old wrote it. But whenever someone put a graphic together, like whenever the uniforms started coming out, I was like, that's tangible. That's real. I can see myself now into this. It's like, what an experience. It's like, now that's become real. So to me, going into the wiki where you can build out that history, where you can put in those pictures and tell the story, helps get you invested. And it opens the avenue of more fiction to be written because, it's not every day you get a Marinta writing a story about Silwar and Hansu, and you're like, oh, well, that's so insightful. That tells me a little bit about who Silwar is and, the challenges that he is facing and Hansu and how Hansu reacts to individuals.
And you just reminded me that there's another one inbound that you're going to have to read at one point.
Oh, another one? I've read parts 3 and 4.
No, not Hanswar.
Okay.
The other one with me.
The other one.
With me and Newt.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll read it. You got my promise for that.
Yeah, I'm just worried about Marenta's actually gonna write. But anyway,
well,
go
see,
on.
that's exactly my point. Is for you to be able to write a fiction about someone's character, what do you know about them?
Right.
So let's look at it this way. You know, who's Kamjin? Do you know that I'm, the son of an Alderani from Alderaan? That I'm a duke? That I served in the Imperial Navy? That my father was a Jedi? That all those backstory elements.
Yeah.
Do you know it? No, of course not. My headcanon about Pliff is that he's a Hoojib in disguise. and that you all haven't yet realized that he's a Hoojib in disguise. And that Kamjin is the only person who sees him as a Hoojib. And none of you are you're interacting with Pliff. Pliff is saying hey, we need to do this, deploy the fleet, and everyone's taking it seriously. And I'm like, that's a gosh darn Hoojib. That's how, if I was to write a story right now with Pliff, that's how I would write Pliff. Little white Hoojib on the Bridge Superstar Destroyer.
I equal parts hate and love the fact that you brought that up, because now I cannot unsee that. Thank you. Every time I hear his voice, I'm just gonna see that. Damn it.
That's it. To me, he's
I'm gonna break out.
Some energy.
I'm gonna break out laughing. I'm gonna break out laughing one day, and he's gonna be like, "What's so funny?" It's like, I can't say it. I can't say it. I can't say it.
But see, that's kind of the nuance. So for me, one that I love seeing myself written, because I'm egotistical. I can't help that. But I want to see it written right. And whenever I want to write about someone, it's like, what's is Genie human? Is Genie a Twi'lek? Is Genie a literal blue man that's attached to a lamp and sitting in a TIE fighter? I mean, the way you can look at this is Kamjin is the only one who can see through the haze and be like, there's a fox over there commanding the combat operations. There's a
fox.
Giving operations. There's how many Ewoks have suddenly metamorphosized into this fleet? There's a unicorn that's strapped into a TIE fighter right now, and I'm pretty sure there's an aardvark that's backing her up. And Kamjin could be going insane. But when you have that wiki, you can be like, hey, I want to write about Turtle. Is Turtle a soft-shelled turtle? Is he a sea turtle? What is Turtle's background?
Snapping turtle.
You then can, write them with a certain degree of confidence. And whenever people then see themselves in those stories, they go, hey, that's great. They picked up on that little detail or that little nuance. And that's really me. That's really my character existing.
Gotcha.
I hope Hijacker is taking a lot of notes.
He better, or I'll just send him the entire video file. All two.
Well, to be fair, I joke. He and I have talked about this.
Oh, okay. I do want to go back real quick about Genie. I know on his INPR, I don't know if he's updated it since when I interviewed him, but I finally got out of him. He's finally confirmed he's a Chiss. We have a confirmation. Now, whether he actually updates his INPR is a different story, because we don't know what he'll weave out of that. But I'm sorry, you were saying?
Yeah, I was gonna say, Genie, a blue man.
Red eyes.
Check his feet. Yeah. Make sure there's not a lamp attached to him.
It's like, very, very interesting to have blood red eyes and blue skins, kind of like a Chiss. But see, it works for him though. That combination definitely works for him, and I love it.
I can see it. I'll pay Genie a compliment. He definitely has a tactical mindset. I've seen the way he's engaged with Imperial Storm. He plays into a Chiss character motif very naturally.
Right. I'm sorry. I just saw Marenta saying, "Turtle is a gunk." I don't know what that means. What's a gunk? I'm trying to Google what that is, and I'm not getting. I don't know if this is. Okay, no, this is a dictionary word for unpleasantly sticky or messy substance. You made me say that on a live stream. Come on.
You know, the greatest thing about this podcast is that Marinta is like the perfect heckler. That only we see what she's saying, yet we have to react to it.
And yet she was also on this podcast, which called the challenge a hippie commune. Really don't think so, or enjoyed that, by the way.
The challenge is not a hippie commune. The challenge is an Alcohol Anonymous meeting.
Yes.
That never is able to get past the "hi, I'm an alcoholic" and getting a drink.
Yeah, without ripping out a panel into and grabbing some tequila, because we always have those on hand.
It is a ship that is held together by the drool of passed out officers that have cemented together all the cracks from the battle damage.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't worry. Silwar keeps asking me to make more batches of different versions of tequila. It's fine.
Which is perfect.
I'll promise to make one that's non-glowing at this point.
You know what? I think for the mass markets, a Seagram's Shalkila would be fantastic.
Oh my god, yes.
Put a ton of sugar in it.
By the way, I still want to find. I remember someone saying that we had a couple of actual bartenders in the EH. Or
Mon is one.
Mon is one. I also heard Echo was another one.
Yes, Echo.
I need to ask them to make 3 specific drinks in commemoration to IS4. The Hammy, what was it? The Chalwar and the Warrenta. We need to actually make the team captains with their names fused with the ship as actual drinks. I actually want to see this one day. And it's like which one of them is gonna have the Seagrams in it? Because one of them is gonna have the Seagrams in it.
Yeah, what you need to make for me is that I am a girl drink drunk. If you ever watch Kids in the Hall, there is a skit about girl drink drunks. Where if you haven't seen it, because of course Kids in the Hall is ancient for most of you and probably existed before you were born.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look it up. Unfortunately, sorry.
It's on YouTube, but the premise is that this guy gets a promotion at the office, and there's like, hey, let's have a whiskey to celebrate. And he's like, I don't drink. I don't really like alcohol. And he's like, why? Not even a girl drink? How about Cincinnati Mai Tai? And he has this massively huge sugary drink with all of these umbrellas and fruit in it, and he becomes an alcoholic. But he's only an alcoholic for girl drinks. So the common trope of, hey, I'm gonna sneak into a supply cabinet and take a shot of whiskey from my flask. He's going in there with a blender, making this pina colada to drink in the break room, and no one's catching him. Anyway,
man.
You gotta look it up. It's hilarious.
Yeah, definitely. I'll definitely look it up. Now, I do have to point out, this has been the longest podcast ever on this channel. We almost made it to 2 hours. Remember what I said for the time trials, that every time I say, oh, it's never gonna get under a certain amount of time, insert time here. I at one point said, oh, the Airlock Podcast, what's my longest? I don't think it'll ever go past an hour and 15 minutes or an hour and 20 minutes. Here we are at 1 hour and 56 and 35 seconds.
Hey, what can I say? I like to talk.
No, this is great.
You ask good questions. These are questions that get you talking.
Thank you. Yeah. We were also having a discussion because me, Hijacker, and Turtle, we were talking about finally getting these episodes onto the YouTube channel. Main issue, finding editors to help clean up all the sounds, all the audio on the raw footage. But it's like we've come across the issue storage. Storage is going to be the main problem, and you can only hold so much on a Google Drive, and these videos are a lot. I think, if I can recall, I want to say one episode averaged out at like 2 or 3 megabytes or something. I gotta look it up real quick, but yeah, the longer the episode, obviously, the higher the the higher the storage. So I'm worried to look at the video file after this episode. Oh yeah, 1.3 gigs. That was the average. So it's like those are only for 1 hour 15, 1 hour 20-minute episodes. What about the 2 hours and beyond? I'm afraid to look at the size of the files. Will it even go in a Google Drive at this point? It will definitely be interesting. But I know you also said you got a thing with Rapier and Pliff here in a bit.
Yep, where I gave them a quick ping saying we were finishing up.
Yeah.
So how about this? One final question.
Sure, go ahead.
What? No, you asked me.
Oh, me.
One final question to close it out.
Okay. This actually, believe it or not, has been my personal question. Why the Imperial Praetorian mask?
Why? Oh.
Yeah. For me, it's I have always loved the Royal Guard mask. And I always wanted to know, like, I saw you were the only one rocking it in the entire TC. It's like, all right, cool. I want to know what was his reason for using that, or did he just like it? So that's just me.
So it's, whenever I became Imperial Sovereign Protector, I was like, oh, Imperial Sovereign Protector, protect the fleet commander, kind of has a Royal Guard motif. And there's an artist that made this. Give me a moment now. I want to cite him appropriately.
Okay.
Jake Bartok.
Big Bartok. Okay.
You can find him on Facebook. So Jake, Jake, Bartok, Bartok, dash illustrator.
Okay.
And he has a entire series that is taking Star Wars characters and giving them a medieval look.
Okay, that's where the medieval hint of it is. Okay.
And I'll drop some of this like recent stuff. He does this mashup between Star Wars and Lord of the Rings. I'm dropping this.
Yep,
into
I'm seeing them as a. Oh, they look.
And
good,
they look
yeah.
fantastic. They look just simply amazing. And he did this excellent one of the Royal Guard, and I was like, gosh, I love it. I got this role. It just made sense. There's nothing special. There's nothing preventing anyone else from doing it. You know, I'm not just gonna sit here and be like, you haven't earned that right.
Right.
Just something I was able to find.
Yeah, I figure it as such. Same thing with the mask. It's like, yeah, based off of my mask, based off of the old smiley emotes that you've may seen in the Discord at one point or on the stream or whatever. These smiling little emotes I've made since middle school, and I have at this time right around 40 variants of it. And so it's like there's nothing preventing anybody from using them. I don't care. So I figured it was the exact same thing with you. It's like, yeah, it's just one of them, but not stopping. Nobody stopping from also using it as well. Then.
Yep.
Okay.
You got it. Okay. All right. Well, I've kept Rapier and Pliff waiting. Waiting so long.
I don't want to be. Yeah.
I had messaged Pliff that he is a hoojib, and his question back was, did I learn to trick them telepathically? I was like, am I headcanon? I'm the only one who can see you for what you are.
Hi,
So he's
Hijacker,
wanted
we need
to
this in
special.
Hijacker, we need this in canon right now.
So it's up to you guys. You guys can make it real.
I'm gonna let that decision go to Hijacker if he wants that responsibility. I'm just here along for the ride. But anyway, I'll let you go so I don't hold you up any longer. Thank you so much, Kamjin, for being on the show. Truly an honor and pleasure, especially hearing all the amazing tales you have.
I am always happy to come. Always happy to talk to you, Legion. Always happy to share. For those of you who are actually interested in it, I'll check the view counts. If people like it, the views will go up. If people don't like it, I'm assuming they'll tune out. And then I'll know how you guys really think.
Yeah, we still got to get these on the YouTube channel. Twitch can only hold them for so long before they auto delete, so we got to get them on the YouTube channel as quickly as possible. But yeah, I'll let you go here. Thank you so much, sir. You have a great evening.
You too, Legion. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye. Alrighty, and with that, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be it for the show. We have done it. 2 hours and 3 minutes and 28 seconds and counting, and we're still going. Yeah, it is definitely going to be a heck of a file size for this video. Yeah, so definitely learned a lot from one of the veterans of the EH. Now wondering what Rapier and Pliff are going to be talking about with him. Wanted to know, but it's like at this point, it's on a need-to-know basis, I'm sure. But either way, real quick, heading back to previous announcements that I couldn't get to before. Going back to my podcast series of interviewing the squadron commanders of the EH TIE Corps. We've hit a bit of I don't want to say a monkey wrench because I still plan on going through the commanderships, but for those of you in the TIE Corps have noticed that there's been some changes already in the commandership positions. For those who know, now Lieutenant Colonel Evilgrid, who was commander of Inferno, has stepped down, where now Captain Xylo Pathel, Moonshine Pathel, is now in charge of leading Inferno. Everybody has been asking me or wanting to know if I am going to go back at some point to interview Xylo. The answer is yes, but not for the quote-unquote commander series that I'm currently trying to run as best as possible. It was difficult during the Imperial Storm competition to get the podcast going. Hopefully we'll get back on a regular schedule again, providing work doesn't screw me over anymore with schedule changes. I will do my best. We will get back to him, and we will get back to Highlander, who I have next as the next commander to interview, commander of Delta. I promised him an interview, and we will eventually get to that. It was just very difficult during Imperial Storm and real life scheduling and everything else that I needed to run. The D&D special, the EH exclusive D&D special, which is on to my next announcement. Yes, we do have a D&D campaign exclusively for members of the TIE Corps in the Emperor's Hammer. If you are interested in wanting to join up for that, please message either myself or High Admiral Pliff. One of us will get you to those permissions on the Discord channel, and we will get you into the game. Very fun, very excited to see what the players come up with the next session whenever I do get that scheduled, which I promise next week we'll get back into that. I'll be posting the schedules again coming this Friday. I just wanted to take this week to get all my paperwork in order for the disorganization I had for Thunder. I need to get that back in order, plus all the other projects I need to work on. Plus, with the needing to get Empire at War as part of the TC. Now I know Kamjin stated earlier that he doesn't think it should be part of the CEC. Respectively, I disagree. I still think it should be allowed in it as well, at least parts of it. But again, well, that's for another day. We can always have those discussions. I still need to focus on getting the proposal ready. That's also work I also need to do. But I will be getting back to the Commander series with Highlander, starting next on Highlander. Probably gonna start after him, get all the commanders that I know will be able to set up interviews with. I know there's gonna be one or two that is just gonna be next to impossible to do an interview live. At least maybe we could possibly get a recording from them, hopefully. But yeah, I do still plan on getting at least hitting every squadron that I haven't already. And then we will be back next week hopefully with Highlanders, or another idea that's been brought up is having a post-mortem IS-4 podcast involving the Sims officer and the team captains, Colonel Genie, Vice Admiral Silwar, and Vice Admiral Miranda. The Sims officer, Phoenix Bracana, having them all on a channel and getting together a post-mortem to see where things went good, where things didn't go good, and all of that. So, yep, that's going to be it for me tonight, folks. It is running late, and I've already extended this podcast more than it should have been. We are now at 2 hours and 9 minutes. Give it 10 seconds. We'll make it to 2 hours and 10 minutes in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. You've made it to the 2 hour and 10 minute portion of this podcast. We need to stop. All right. That is it for me, folks. Thank you so much for oh my God. Thank you guys so much for joining. I will be on hopefully with Highlander or the IS-4 crew next time. Y'all have a great night. Take care. Bye-bye. I really need to I really need to not extend this episode anymore.